Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of Apple TV Plus' new dramedy from director, co-writer Jonah Hill, Outcome, which stars Keanu Reeves, Jonah Hill, Cameron Diaz, Matt Bomer, and a cast of others. In this film, Keanu Reeves plays Reef Hawk, who is an actor who has been sober for 5 years. He has taken a break from acting to build his new home and takes pride in the progress in his life. However, when he receives a call from a crisis lawyer who reveals that someone is blackmailing him with a video of questionable content, his life is turned upside down. Reef then sets out to make amends to those whom he has wronged in his past in order to figure out who is blackmailing him. This film, as I mentioned before, comes to us from Jonah Hill. He wrote and directed this film. I think this is his second, maybe third. I remember mid-90s the film he directed. I think that was his directorial debut. It was pretty decent. You know, nothing to set the world on fire, but a good first effort. And it was good enough to warrant more directorial efforts from him. And this film, starring Keanu Reeves, he gets to direct him, and so many others. Like I said, Cameron Diaz, Matt Bomer, David Spade is in this movie. Susan Lucci pops up in this film. Martin Scorsese has a role in this film. It's so much talent in this film, and the story was pretty intriguing. Going by the trailer, I was intrigued by this, so sat down, watched it, and was a little disappointed, I must say. I don't hate the movie. I think it was fine, but it's one of those films that you watch once and that's good. You literally move on with your life. It is nothing that will latch on, and in the 5-10 years, a line from the movie pop up, and you sit there like, oh yeah, I know that reference. No, it's none of that in here. It's dry. It's just a dry movie. It's disappointing in a sense. Not that I was highly anticipating the release of Outcome, like, oh man, this is going to be the movie of 2026, and let down in that way. No, I was let down because this story is a real good story. The story makes sense, and it feels personal. The one thing that I did take away from it was it felt like a personal story, and this feels like something Jonah Hill probably went through. Him being a writer and director, coming up with this material here, this story here. It feels like this was a personal story to him, and that story was very intriguing. This actor who is like the darling of Hollywood, just a nice guy. If you Google his name, which he Googles throughout the film, to look and see what people think of him, and you get this perception that he's this all around good guy, nice guy. You see him at a bar, you can sit down, have a conversation with, that type. You run into him in the streets, he'll gratefully take a selfie with you, sign autographs, kiss your babies, and all this other good stuff. But behind the scenes, when the doors close, he wasn't a good guy, and he's coming to the realization that he wasn't a good guy, and it speaks to that a lot. That's the one thing this movie does well. It speaks to the fact that sometimes you can trick yourself into believing something that ain't true about yourself. And I'm not talking about outside forces. I'm talking about you. And I took it. I took that away from it because this is something that me personally, went through recently when I self-evaluated myself. I was going through this little crisis within myself. I'm like, am I really a good guy? Because I always sat back and thought, man, I don't see why people don't like me. you know, there are people, believe it or not, that don't like me. And what did I do? What did I do to them? And I really had to sit down one day and really go through my mind some of the conversations I had, because I had a conversation with a guy that, had a heart to heart, and he was telling me all the stuff I've said in the past. And in my mind, I'm like, well, I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean it that way. So you're taking it the wrong way. And he continued to say other things that I have said, and I agree. It sounded like something I would say, but I'm like, well, why did it come off like that? So I really had to kind of evaluate how I talk. I'm saying the wrong things, and I'm really painting a bad picture of myself instead of sitting there blaming other people on how they view me. I'm the one that's doing it. I'm the one that's leading them down this path. But I say all that to say that that's basically what the Reef character is in this movie. It was me. He was me, and I get it. Subtract the heroin addiction that he went through. I didn't do that. You can blame probably the heroin addiction of Keanu Reeves' character here, why he was the way he was. But a lot of the stories that he heard from people throughout this film, and it was before he got on drugs and whatnot. But now he's trying to walk a different path, and he's on this journey of forgiveness. And that part of the movie I thought was great. The problem was it wasn't enough of it, and I don't think it was flushed out well. The movie is very uneven in that sense. It didn't know rather to commit to this dramatic journey of acceptance of your past sins and seeking forgiveness, but not so much forgiveness for the sake of others, but for yourself. That would have been a great movie. I think that would have been a excellent movie to explore, but it didn't focus on that solely. It really focused heavily on this blackmail that was going on, and it was just all over the place, and the blackmail subplot really cost us the forgiveness, the journey, the mental health journey that he was going on. It suffered. It was null and void. It really, especially when you got the end results of this blackmail thing and all that in the movie, it was like, well, all that was for nothing. It was for nothing. It was very unsatisfying at the end. The comedy aspect of it, the movie was funny. It had funny moments throughout the film. I think the funniest star in here, and you had some really good funny people in here. You had Roy Woods Jr., you had David Spade, you had Jonah Hill in this movie. It was some real good comedic actors in this movie, but the funniest person to me was Matt Bomer. Matt Bomer was amazing in this film. He was the star. He really stole the movie for me. Not only for him being the kind of comic relief of sorts, but even the dramatic moments he had between him and Keanu Reeves was perfect. One scene in particular, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but one scene when it was kind of a intervention type deal, and he just spewed his guts to him, and told him why we're still friends. It was heartbreaking, man. I teared up. I teared up. And Matt Bomer's performance is why. It was just a powerful performance there. And on top of that, he was hilarious throughout, even in the credits. He was hilarious. Between him and Martin Scorsese were the two best performances. Martin Scorsese has a role. It isn't just a glorified cameo. He has two scenes? No, two scenes. but they were two powerful scenes. Martin Scorsese, I, I'm I'm scratching my head like, why he never got in front of the camera? Because we all know he is one of the greatest directors of all time, but man, he acted his behind off in this movie. Bruh, I'm telling you, awesome performance by him. It's got to be some type of award consideration in some sense. That was an amazing performance by Martin Scorsese. Keanu Reeves was fine, but Keanu Reeves was Keanu Reeves. you know what you're getting with Keanu Reeves. Aside from the John Wick of it all, we didn't get none of that. But Keanu Reeves was Keanu Reeves in this movie, which is fine because we all love Keanu Reeves. I mean, the character of Reef Hawk is Keanu Reeves. Now, I don't think he was on heroin and all that, but I'm just saying, just being a genuine nice guy that you believe is a stand-up nice guy, that's Keanu Reeves. Another standout would be Susan Lucci. Susan Lucci in this movie is look, which one is she on? All My Children, or I can't remember which one. I'm more than certain everybody out there knows she's been on it for about 80 years. So and I should know. Because my mom watched Jesus my entire life. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I think it's All My Children. I'm gonna put my head on a chopping block and say All My Children. Anywho's, she's phenomenal in the scene that she's in. The supporting cast was great. The one supporting cast member, sadly, that I did not enjoy in this movie was Cameron Diaz. I don't know why. She was just bad. She was bad in this movie. Bad. I don't understand why her character was there. I don't understand what she was doing. I just didn't get it. It just didn't fit. It's not all her fault. I think that was a badly written character, along with Matt Bomer's character, because they both play Reef's best friends. But even his character was written bad. But Matt Bomer had the ability to kind of add a little hot sauce on it, put a little flair on it to improve that character. Whereas Cameron Diaz, she did exactly what was written. It was nothing else to it. And now she did have one scene where she was great. I remembered the old Cameron Diaz. Aside from that, I didn't see her purpose in this film. The movie was just, like I said, to start it off fine. It wasn't offensive to the eyes. I see what they were trying to do, and I see the story that they were trying to tell, and I appreciate it for that. I think it was, the story itself is a very intriguing story. They just didn't quite get there with telling it. That's why I'm giving Outcome, which is currently on Apple TV Plus, a letter grade of a C-. Yeah, I wanted more from this. I wanted, especially once I got into the movie. Once the movie started and I saw what's the story they're telling, and what's the setup, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a good little movie here. It just, I don't know, man. Those wheels just wasn't spinning fast enough for me. But that's just one man's opinion. I would love to know yours. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You could also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Outcome. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.